guys, we're back for another edition of Talking Preps. I got some of the crew here. It's Thanksgiving week. Everybody having a good week?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Not really.
All right.
Cheat week.
Oh, so you going to eat meat this week? Turkey?
Yeah.
Man?
Yes.
You know, once you start cheating, you can't go back.
Oh, brother, you got to have discipline, man. Discipline.
Yeah, that turkey hits your chunk. It's going to be some discipline, all right. I want some more.
It'll probably knock me out cold. I'll probably sleep for like a 5-hour nap. You know how them naps are on Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. Maybe you can get out and go walk on that golf course. All right, Chris, take us through it real quick. We got playoffs coming to the end of here on Friday night.
Yeah, man, the quarterfinals is always a big-time week because you know that teams are 1 week away from that opportunity to play for a berth in the state championship game. Looking right here in the 4A West, East Forsyth at Huff, two incredible football programs. That is going to be a big-time game. I believe you'll find me on the sideline watching that one. I think it's the best game in North Carolina this week, although there's a bunch of good games, guys. Chambers at Weddington, you know, that's two incredible programs. Looking over there on the eastern side, Rollsville at Leesville Road. Talk about a contrasting of styles, you know, pass heavy versus an incredible run defense and an incredible run game. And then Panther Creek, Cardinal Gibbons. I'll run down through the 3A guys. South Point at Crest. They played a 27-26 game a few weeks ago. Dudley at Statesville. Statesville's coach feels really good about that game. I think it's a 50-50 kind of game myself. We'll see. In the eastern part of the state, Jacksonville at Eastern Alamance, Scotland County. You remember Scotland was my pick to make it out of this 3A bracket.
Yeah, you got that one right. I was looking at that and I was like, Chris, right about Scotland County.
They've had a lot of road games, Guru. That's the part I saw Coach Bailey post. You know, every game I think it's been over 200 miles away from their home. So can the Road Warriors keep it up? That's what I'm interested to see.
They may be able to, guys. And then, hey, let's look at the 2A bracket. Going to the West, look at that top game on the right.
Man.
Shelby hosting Reidsville. Reidsville's going to take about a 3-hour trip down to Cleveland County. Those two teams collectively have the most state championships of any two teams in the entire state. You talk about an old-time battle. That's going to be a great one. Maiden at East Surrey, a battle of undefeated teams. That 2A, you talk about that mini fight club. Looking at the East, St. Paul's at Princeton, again, undefeated versus undefeated. Wallace Rose Hill, who knocked off East Duplin last week, going to go up and take on Coach Antonio Moore, friend of the program at Northeastern. And then looking at the West, Robbinsville and Murphy. Those are two arch rivals. Mitchell at Mount Airy, Northampton County at Tarboro. And we're missing there at the bottom. We're missing Pender County. I left that one out. That's on me. That should be a great game as well. But Pender County is taking on Northside. Remember, Northside was in the championship game in the spring.
That's correct.
That 2A West is something serious.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were just talking about. That regional Shelby game. That's the battle of the champions right there. And then East Surrey and Maiden is no slouch. I mean, we've talked about the 2A West, as Chris alluded to, being a mini fight club. And I mean, look at all those, undefeated teams and Wallace Rose Hill and Shelby. I mean, that's one heck of a bracket. But Coach Grind, I want you to tell me, what do you see in the 4A West, and then Alex, what do you see in the 4A East?
I see a potential of the Queen City. If you put my feet to the fire and say who's going to be in the semifinal game, it'll be Huff versus Chambers, and what a epic matchup that would be. A lot of people, we might need to think about that game going to, if that happens, that game probably needs to be played at Memorial Stadium. Now, East Forsyth is peaking at the right moment right now. Their defense is playing stellar. That coaching staff does a really good job. But Huff is just so dominant. I just think that it's going to be hard for anybody to beat Huff this year. And in Weddington, they're very, very good at this time of year. But, going against Chambers, there's just so many athletes on the field.
I remember back in the 90s, West Charlotte had a summer team. East Forsyth kind of came out of nowhere relatively, didn't give up a point going to the state championship. East Forsyth hasn't given up a point. Chris, can Huff end that streak, or is Huff going to be in trouble trying to score against his defense?
I think Huff is going to be in trouble. East Forsyth has one of the better defensive coordinators in the state in Aaron Beal, and they have got the athleticism and the talent to, I think, go toe-to-toe with Huff. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Huff is the underdog, because I don't think they are. I think both of these two teams are as strong as one another, and I think it's going to just come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes, who can convert on third down, who can get off the field on third down on defense. I think that there's a lot of just little things that are going to become big things that are going to add up during the game. But I think it's just going to be a tremendous game. I do think Huff has probably got the advantage just because they're at home and because they've just got so much going in their favor. But they're going to have to show up. They're not going to win this game by showing up and just going through the motions. They're going to have to play to win it.
Absolutely. Alex, on the east side, Wake County's having a party. It's all Wake all the time. And I think Roseville might be one of the biggest stories in the state. I mean, I know they went to the state championship last year. They had a rough start playing a lot of road games we've talked about. And here they are sitting with a chance to get right back to the state championship. Got to go through Leesville Road and got to go through either Panther Creek or Cardinal Gibbons. What are you seeing on the eastern side?
My goodness, we talk about the 4A Fight Club on a statewide level. You want to talk about a 4A Fight Club on a conference level, the Northern Athletic 4A Conference, with the exception of our friends in Charlotte with Huff and Chambers, and that absolutely loaded conference, including the mighty West Charlotte Lions at the 3A level. Other than that conference, if you want to talk about a 4A Fight Club conference, it was the conference in which Roseville played. Every team in that conference made the state playoffs. Every team in that conference won at least 4 games. They all beat up on each other all season long. And now you're seeing the manifold benefits display themselves in a team like Roseville coming out, being a proven road warrior through their first 3 playoff games and getting to the quarterfinal here with an opportunity to earn a second consecutive state final berth in the largest classification. So what we're seeing here is the past, the present, and the future. The past in the 4A and 4AA state finalists in 2019 and the spring of 2021. Leesville Road 4AA 2019, Roseville 4AA spring 2021, and Cardinal Gibbons 4A each of the last 2 seasons. So we see the past right there. We see the present in Roseville with the likes of Byron Brown, the tremendous quarterback headed to South Florida, who's put his team in a position to qualify for a second consecutive state final. We see Bo Atkinson of Leesville Road, their tremendous player, known for what he can do on the defensive side of the ball, but also has other abilities as well with Leesville Road, putting them in a position. DJ Scott, Nasir Winston, so many weapons for Leesville Road once again. Cardinal Gibbons. We spoke about Donovan Shepard earlier today, the NCHSA single game rushing yardage record holder. So past and present. And we also talk about the future. That Panther Creek Cardinal Gibbons game includes 2 tremendous junior quarterbacks in Cardinal Gibbons's Connor Clark and Panther Creek's Amari Odom, both juniors.
You don't want to stop you right there, Alex, because there's another phenomenal quarterback in your area who is a sophomore. Mason Fortune lost 54-48 to Millbrook, lost 54-48 to Roseville. You guys and quarterbacks are going to be loaded the next couple of years. Should be fun football.
My goodness. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And we get to enjoy that this week. And another thing, you talk about those young quarterbacks, another person to watch out for Roseville, Noah Rogers, the tremendous wide receiver who balled out again against Millbrook last week, putting his team in a position to secure the win. He's ready to assume the torch-bearing responsibility for the receiving corps from Wesley Grimes of Millbrook, another young man who balled out last week, 12 receptions, 187 yards in that 54.
187?
12 receptions, 187 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I mean, I've said this all year long about Wesley Grimes. If you look at some of his numbers, he was on a Devontae Smith kind of pace all season long.
Right.
It's absolutely astounding. So Noah Rogers is ready to assume the receiving torch in the area. We talk about those great quarterbacks. Noah Rogers is a junior for Roseville. He's ready to assume that receiver's torch-bearing responsibility going forward. So like I said, past, present, and future in these 2 games right here. And as I close, let me offer an informational piece for everyone. The Panther Creek at Cardinal Gibbons game will kick off at 12 noon on Friday. The reason being,
Because
Cardinal Gibbons, as everyone knows, is right across the street from Carter Finley Stadium. So the North Carolina State game will be played that evening. Panther Creek at Cardinal Gibbons kicks off at 12 noon.
I have an early coach versus coach question. What do you guys think about college teams playing on this big night of high school football?
Terrible.
I don't even think it's definitely terrible question, because I don't think anybody would like that or want that. Like, the biggest problem is we don't get our night anymore. It's like colleges are making all this money, got all these eyes on their games, and they say, oh no, we have to take Friday night away from high schoolers. And even in this situation where you have a team like North Carolina and NC State, albeit one of those teams kind of, having a disappointing type season, Langston, they're taking away from one of the biggest playoff games, one of the biggest games for a lot of kids in that area. Mm-hmm. And not only that, those kids can't go to, on a recruiting visit that same day. So it's like you're cutting off so many opportunities for these kids to have their moment, but to also enjoy, some future games. Of course, these are the best of the best. They have the ability to attend these schools. I would want to make sure that I'm not encroaching on their games or encroaching on anything that they're trying to do. It's horrible all around.
Right. Yeah, it's terrible. It's definitely terrible. It's a situation where you definitely want to, you want high school to be on the stage on Friday nights. It's made for us. Colleges need to stick to Saturday. I mean, they get one of the best days out of the entire week. They just need to go on Saturday. I don't know why they do it.
Let me jump in on that very quickly. Let me jump in on that very quickly and very succinctly here. I remember years ago, I believe Chris Leak still was at Independence when the NCHSAA handbook still precluded live telecasts of regular season football and basketball games. And this was one of the earliest ballyhooed Independence Butler games. Butler hadn't gotten over the hump yet, but they were firmly entrenched in that number 2 position in Charlotte behind Independence. And ESPN was broadcasting a college football game on Friday night and wanted to do live cut-ins to the Independence Butler game. And the NCHSAA said, absolutely not. We're not going to allow that to happen because that infringes upon the live telecast prohibition. And ESPN's response was, well, we want to show our support for high school football by promoting that game during our broadcast. And I'll always remember the excellent response by one of the most dignified, eloquent, and accomplished statesmen we ever have known, Mr. Charles Henry Adams, then executive director of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. As for ESPN wanting to support high school football, Mr. Adams said, if ESPN wanted to support high school football, then it wouldn't be playing college games on Friday night. He was absolutely right then. And our good friend, Mr. Adams, he never let us call him Mr. Adams, but he's smiling on us from above now. He was right then, and he is absolutely right now. I echo what my fellow co-hosts here have said. It's terrible all the way around. College football is not supporting high school football. It's terrible.
All right. Well, there can only be one game in a week and a great schedule of games throughout North Carolina. But before we get to that, we're going to tell you guys about the best players from last week, the Grice's Gems. Let's drop the Grice's Gems.
All right, Coach Grice, here we are again. Thanksgiving weekend, gobble, gobble, gobble. You're playing, if we're talking about some Grice's Gems during the 3rd and 4th rounds of the playoffs, you know that you were talking about some premier athletes. So, hey, here we go. I know my phone's been ringing. What about yours?
Oh, definitely. It's one of those things that, hey, guys that are balling this time of year, they're going to let you know about it because it's not too many teams out here playing. So only the best and the cream rising to the crop. And that's what we're seeing here with our latest crop of gems here.
All right, well, let's stay right here in the Queen City and talk about Keon Abdul-Rahim from Providence Day. Tell me what you see from him and what you see out of his play here.
Just a kid that has a nose for the ball. I mean, I think this kid, I've known him and followed him for a while now. Kid landed at Providence Day, great just middle linebacker. As you can see, one of those big linemen that we talked about from Raven Gap. We know they keep him. His speed and ability to move laterally allowed him to be able to make a lot of plays. You talk about 18 tackles, a sack, and 2 tackles for a loss in this game. The score is 14-9, which is a little surprising to me. Once I saw the film here and a lot of the plays that Keon made, I completely understood why. So big win for Coach Chad Greer in Providence Day. He's a friend of the show, but here we see exactly what happened. His defense stepped up big, and it was led by Abdul Rahim.
All right, Coach Christ, let's go to Western North Carolina, to a team that knows how to win playoff games consistently in the final 2 or 3 every year in the 1A ranks, and that is Robbinsville High School. Cutler Adams, this young man rushed for 377 yards on 42 carries in a big 50-47 victory over North Rowan. What do you see here?
Oh, love it. This time of year, the field's getting brown. Phone booth football is among us here in the mountains, and this kid was a big reason why they won. 50-47. Hey, sometimes you think it's a lot of throwing the ball and this and that, but 42 carries for 377 yards. You knew who was getting the ball. He knew who was getting the ball, and he was able to win in that matchup. So a big win for Robbinsville. Cutler Adams was the reason why they were giving him the ball early, often, and whenever they could find any extra time. 42 carries, it was a large part of the offensive game plan.
Well, hey, let's stay with a team that knows how to win championship football. Shelby, North Carolina, obviously one of the premier programs in the state. They've got a sophomore wideout who has been making some noise this year. I've really taken notice to his play. Isaiah Bridges. Tell me about him, Coach.
We've had Dalen Lee as a Grice Gems alumni already, and he's got to be thrown to somebody with all these yards. Glad we could get one of his receivers who's making these big plays. Isaiah Bridges here, being a sophomore, and again going against a much improved East Gaston. We knew and felt like they would try to make this a game. Shelby showed why they're still the cream of the crop, and this kid is going to be good for a good little while here with 2 more years left of eligibility. So I'm excited to see him, and again, we know that he's going to be doing it at the right time, championship time, which is what Shelby's used to.
I love that dog pile that Shelby does when they come into the stadium, those old gold helmets. That is old-time high school football here in North Carolina. So good deal. Hey, let's stick here in the same Catawba Valley area. Maiden High School had that incredible victory over Salisbury. Quarterback Ethan Rhodes was 17 of 24 for 314 yards, 5 touchdowns over the defending state champs. So tell us about him.
Oh, again, you beat the defending state champions. You see the Georgia commit Jalen Walker on that field. This QB is a big reason why. You better be able to cover every blade of grass out there on the field when he's there. You see the balls he's throwing on time, in rhythm, and leading his receivers to where all they have to do is run and hold their hands out. 17 of 24. We talk about the high percentage passing, 314 yards and 5 touchdowns. We see him here with a little scramble to boot, getting a first down. This kid did it all for his team. And again, beating Salisbury, especially this time of year when they're used to being in the championship run, plays like this from Ethan Rhodes are exactly why Maiden is heading on to the next round.
Absolutely. We'll certainly keep notice of him throughout this playoff run. And then finally, let's go up to Cardinal Gibbons High School in Raleigh. We talked about Donovan Shepard ran for 206 yards and a big 29-21 victory over Cleveland.
Hey, this was the game of the week for me last week, and the biggest thing I talked about was we knew Shepard was going to get his. We knew Hampton was going to get his, but the biggest part was that Shepard was going to be able to do this in a victory, and he actually balled out and did really well. 206 yards. He needed every one of those yards, every big play, every explosive play that he was able to do because Cleveland was showed to be a formidable foe, even though they came up just short. But, hey, the focus here is on Donovan Shepard, such a great ball player and such a great carrier of the football. We're excited to see that they won, and he was the reason why there. So, again, they move on, and they have a great shot to make it out of the eastern side of the Fight Club Junior, if you will, on that eastern side to try to make a state championship run.
All right, Coach Grice. Well, hey, Thanksgiving football this week. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of incredible gems because, hey, if you don't ball out this time of year, you're going to get ready to play some basketball. So these guys are going to really be turning up the juice.
Definitely. I'm excited to see next week. Again, we got some big-time matchups on the slate. So either somebody's going to ball and show their worth, all the offers and stats and praise that they've been getting all year, or, hey, it's going to be helmets to the left, shoulder pads to the right.
All right. Hey, tell the guys that's balling out this week, how can they get in touch with you?
Yep. So at Coach Jay Grice on Twitter, you can hit up the guy to my right here at Guru Chris Hughes, or at Langston Wirtz Jr., or at Observer Preps. Any of those ways, we're able to see exactly what you did. We'll be focused because it's not a lot of games, but please let us know for something that we may not have seen. If you do ball, you already know how we do on this show. You're going to get the call.
All right, that was cool, guys. I'm really cool. Glad you guys could highlight 5 more guys this week. We got another week coming up. Definitely DM Grice, he just told you, so you can get on the show next week as we get to the state semifinal week. But Grice, there's a humongous game up in Huntersville this week. Tell us about East Forsyth and Huff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of great games out there. And if I could, beat the traffic, I might get down to South Point and Crest because I want to see the part 2. But the game of the week is up there in Cornelius, North Carolina. East Forsyth and Huff. I mean, I think that's going to be an interesting game there. I think you have 2 great teams. And, depending on how things go, it's going to be, I think, a surprise to a lot of people depending on what goes on. First key there is just for Huff. Keep working your formula. I mean, playing great defense, offensively, not going over the top, taking your shots when you can, relying on an excellent kicking game to ensure your opponents are having to make some great plays to move the ball down the field. Everybody talks about, what makes teams good. And I think people miss the greatness of Huff in a lot of ways. Chambers, even when they're facing top talent, you see that they have athletes that jump off the page no matter who they're playing. Huff's, they're elite. I call it their elite is discipline. This is a team that does not make mistakes in any kind of way. Even on bad nights, they still are able to even contain the few mistakes they make to ensure that they don't hurt themselves. That's been something that's great. So for them, just keep working your formula. Coach Jenkins, the OC Coach Olson, they've had a great game plan. Chachi Sullivan's going to come out doing what he knows best. So if they just stay on that path, I think they'll be fine. Moving to East Forsyth, I give the famous quote, "What can Brown do for you?" Kushon Brown is an excellent football player. He's a guy that can do it all. I think for those coaches, the best thing that they're going to have to do is to be creative in how they're getting him the ball. Huff is not a team, with excellent DBs. They're not a team where you can line them up at receiver and just have them go get one-on-one balls. That's not going to happen against this team. 21 DB Ethan Johnson has been fantastic there on that side. Amari Filial, even he's going to App State. He's another guy that just those guys you can't really test on a consistent basis and be successful. So Brown's got to get the ball through many different ways. The coaches really have to be creative there to make sure it happens. And finally, I mean, we're at the end of, playoff run. We're getting close to the state title. It's more for East Forsyth, but even Huff too. Play within yourselves, but empty the clip. That's always a famous phrase that I know a lot of coaches that, and I use when you get to playoff time, of just making sure that all the bullets in your gun are used before you finish the game. Huff the same way. They rely on, to me, I'd argue their most explosive offensive weapon and running back J.T. Smith. They're going to rely on him. They're going to make their plays and take their shots to Osborne and Markel Quick. But the biggest thing is that, hey, you got to have that play that East Forsyth hasn't seen and that you're going to be able to take advantage of to have a big win. East Forsyth the same way. You got to come out. If you're running the annexation of Puerto Rico this week, it's in the book. You need to run it. Don't leave this game because, again, like it or not, and someone, as I always joke, 3-6 made, 704 paid. As someone who is from that area, this game is a referendum on 704 versus 3-6 football. So the play within yourselves is specifically for East Forsyth. I saw, on the tape some of the shenanigans going on before the East Forsyth Glen game. There may be the tendency for that to go on here. Those East Forsyth coaches, everyone have to stay within themselves because they got to understand while it's a bigger meaning to the game, it's still a game that's played within the lines. And I think they've got to make sure they stay within that and don't get too much out of their game plan. Because the minute you do, or the minute you respond to Chachi Sullivan talking junk on the side pregame, you're out of your game. He's in your head. A lot of times he's going to be successful there. So I'm excited. I should go to this game if that temperature ain't too cold. But it's going to be one of those games that's for the books. I mean, I think that East Forsyth's going to come down here and play hard. I think both teams are going to score. So that whole giving up a point, for the playoffs is going to be done. But it'll be one of the better games on the slate this week.
Sam, what's going to happen in this game? 30 seconds. What's going to happen?
It's going to be a low-scoring game, I think. I think you can see like a 14-10 type game. I still think Huff is going to come out at the end, though. They're just too strong.
Guys, from your Eastern perspective, what do you see?
Well,
the East Forsyth?
Okay.
No, Alex,
I'm a fan of lower scoring games in terms of what I see happening in the East. Your Leesville Road and Rollsville game. Leesville Road is going to have to show that it can score consistently. Leesville Road has been there defensively. Bo Atkinson is a big-time player. We all know that. Leesville Road is going to give itself a chance on the defensive end. Can it score?
Okay,
enough
but
points?
feet to the fire, Alex. Who's winning? Who's winning? Feet to the fire. Who's winning these games?
I think Rolesville wins that game when it all comes down to it, because I just don't think Leesville can score enough in the end. The Cardinal Gibbons game, we saw again last week how Gibbons defensive coordinator Nick Drew just distinguished himself as one of the best.
You got to get that Nick Drew reference there.
I mean, you hold Cleveland scoreless in the second half.
No, big time.
That's big time. That's a resume builder. I mean, you look at someone.
So who's your winner, Alex? Who's your winner?
The Gibbons defense is just too good, and you know they're going to score, and the Gibbons defense is just too good, and they get it done again. We'll see Rolesville and Cardinal Gibbons last spring's 4AA and 4A Eastern Regional winners the Friday after Thanksgiving. That's what we're going to see them in the Eastern Final.
Pretty cool. All right, it's time to go to Fresh Faces. Here we go.
All right, Coach Grice. Hey, man, this is my favorite segment of the week. Fresh Faces. Time to highlight some of those young and up-and-comers that are really starting to make some noise on the prep football scene. You ready to do it?
Oh, I'm ready, man. I tell them all the time, Guru, you've been talking my head off about some of these guys, and now we get to show the people what you've been telling me about. So I'm excited. Guys are going to see it, and these kids are going to be sitting here posting and saying, I told you guys you're sleeping on me. It's time for them to show up and show why they're one of the fresh faces out here.
All right, man, let's do it. Let's talk about some of these young up-and-comers. We're going to start out this week in Spencer, North Carolina. North Rowan High School, they went on the road and took on Robbinsville in a 50-47 playoff battle. Freshman quarterback became the first freshman quarterback, Jeremiah Alford, became the first quarterback to pass for 5 touchdowns, breaking a record held by Mitch Ellis. And guys, I'm from Rowan County. You do not understand how big this is. North Rowan's, their stadium is called the Airport. They sling the ball around. They have had some who's of quarterbacks around their history. And for this young guy to beat a Mitch Ellis record, this is a really big deal, Coach.
Oh, man, I'm excited about that. And again, even as a freshman, I mean, you're able to see he seems like he has some of the mechanics of a kid that's maybe a sophomore or junior out there. So no surprise when you see him play and see some of his film while he's able to do some great things like this. But I'm excited to see how he grows. I mean, I think that's one of the most, the best parts of having a young quarterback is you fight with them through some of their adversity and fight with them through some of the bonehead things that they're going to do because they're young. We always forget that they're 14, but to see them grow and this kid become a field general as he becomes a junior or senior, the sky's the limit for this kid. And I'm glad we're able to highlight him now.
Absolutely. All right, we got a big game this week taking place between East Forsyth and Huff. So Kushon Brown had a 78-yard kickoff return Friday, the first play of the game in East Forsyth's 14-0 victory over Kernersville Glen. What do you see in this guy, Coach?
I mean, he can do it all. I mean, this is a kid right here. You see the speed. He's able to run away from those defenders. And we've seen that Glenn team go against Chambers, so we know that their speed is verified. But, coaches talk with him this week. I mean, they talk about just how he's a do-it-all kid, a kid that just, wants to go get it in whatever form he can help his team. And I think that's the best part about this is that he's fine returning kickoffs, returning punts, playing defense, playing offense, getting the ball direct snap, running the ball. Whatever he needs to do is to help his team, he's going to do it. And I think with a guy with that level of versatility and that big playability, it's going to be a great game this Friday against Huff. I'm glad we were able to highlight him because, guys, if you didn't already know about him, he's going to come front and center here for you in the 704 this week.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned he does it all. That's just what I call a good football player. It doesn't get it done on offense, doesn't get it done on defense. He plays a complete game, including special teams. That's where it's at. Hey, let's talk about Crest High School. We've talked about Maury Adams all year, the incredible running back. Well, hey, they have got a phenomenal quarterback as well, and Natavius Husky. This young man had 161 total yards of offense and 2 touchdowns in their 35-14 victory over North Davidson. What do you see in him, Coach?
I mean, again, you of course, we talked about the Mari Adams in the past, but having that running game solid allows his quarterback to be free to do some great things. So, I mean, I love the fact that we're able to highlight him. And even though they do run the ball heavy, he's a guy that, hey, if he wants to direct snap and take it himself, if he wants to be able to throw the ball, he can kind of keep that balanced attack to keep teams at bay, to keep those running lanes free for himself and Mari Adams. So, good that we highlighted him. Again, Shelby has a solid quarterback. Huskies are on the same side for Crest saying, hey, I'm good too. So good we were able to highlight him. Great win. And it's something about those Cleveland County teams. And, as we get down into November.
Hey, every time you have a big-time team and, you got a superstar athlete, there's always a running back or a guy backing that player up that could probably go to another school and be a show-stopping kid himself. And I think that we have seen that, identified that over here at Chambers High School. Of course, everybody knows the reigning Mr. Football, Dalen Smothers. Well, his backup, Cameron Kennedy, had 92 of his 96 yards in the second half of Chambers' 28-10 victory over Porter Ridge. What do you see from this guy?
As a kid I've known for a long time, and I'm happy that we're able to highlight him here. Getting to Chambers, I think, that was a tough thing of him, wanting to play on the offensive side of the ball because of the stars they have. If you're going to step in there, even in a substitute role, you got to be a big-time player. And, I mean, we saw that again, some of these highlights here against Mallard Creek. We were seeing that game. He stepped up big, even in those moments where Smothers needs a blow. And that's what's critical for them during this playoff run. We saw them in the state championship game against Roseville, where you had Sonny Allen stepped up big last year, or in the spring, Cam Kennedy is going to need to be that kind of complementary role for them to finish the three-peat here. And again, I think he's doing that so far. He just has to continue to keep it up. And that 1-2 punch is going to be hard to stop as it continues to get colder.
All right, my man. Oh, hey, we've done it again. That is some incredible fresh faces. There's 3 more weeks of football left here in the state. So that's still a lot of opportunity for us to highlight some of these young and up-and-coming players, because I've always said this back in my coaching days, Coach. Once you get into the playoffs, a sophomore ain't really a sophomore anymore. A freshman ain't really a freshman.
Nope.
I mean, these are some seasoned players. And when, once they get their sea legs under them, they can really start to make some big-time plays.
Oh, definitely. And again, I'm blessed because you've been talking about these guys. And again, they're going to be front and center. These aren't just some random Joe Bob guy that's sitting over here playing basketball right now. This is a key guy in a playoff run for his team that you don't know about because you've heard about guys around him, but he's having an impact on the game. So glad we were able to highlight these guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope those players realize now you're open to the world. Now everyone knows who you are. Keep balling, and you can keep doing great things with your team.
All right, guys, we're back. Just want to let everybody know we got a Talking Prep Super Team coming up December the 21st. The Mr. Football finalists will be named next week. Notice we didn't put out a list this week, so we're going to have final 3 next week. So Grice and Chris and Alex and everybody has a little homework over the weekend. We'll have our 3 finalists named next week, and then the following week we're going to bring them all on and tell you guys who was Mr. Football, the Player of the Year in North Carolina. And now we got to. It's time. I think you guys know what's about to happen because me and Alex are about to disappear.
Get it?
All right, guys. Hey, we're here. 3 shot. Let's lock the door.
He can't. Lock it up, baby. Over there, baby. Let's go.
That's what. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
All right, man, here we are. Big Thanksgiving week, a lot of big-time football. But, hey, we're still here, Coach. I got my man, Coach Grice, on my right. On the left, I got my man, Coach Griner. Coach Griner, I'm going to give you the choice. Pick or receive.
We're receiving again. Back-to-back weeks.
Back-to-back weeks. Well, this
question I'm eating turkey. I'm eating turkey this week, so I got to do some things different.
Wow. Well, hey, I'm going to throw it right to you then, Coach Grice. Best Thanksgiving Day rivalry.
I thought it was the Griner. You say receive, right? He said he's receiving.
Oh, yeah, Coach Griner. My bad. I'm so backwards.
You good. Believe it or not, you never get excited about Detroit Lion football, but I always recognize Detroit Lion football with Thanksgiving. I think that they always can pull out a victory. They might lose every game, but the one game that they can be favored in would be the one that they play on Thanksgiving Day. So, anytime the Detroit Lions play, it's just something I grew up on. I know that Dallas plays, but we don't really recognize those guys because of Gary. But other than that, Detroit Lions, believe it or not, that's whoever they're playing on Thanksgiving.
Man, mine has been the egg bowl, man. I love me some egg bowl. I guess I don't know if it's having an ex with family in the Mississippi area, but that has always been a fun one. I mean, you got everything you could ask for in a rivalry. A team, was it 2 years ago, a team scores a touchdown. The guy gets excited from Ole Miss, lifts his knee up and fakes like he's like a dog peeing on the ground, gets a flag. They miss the extra point and lose the game, and his coach gets fired. I mean, you get all this stuff hanging out, like all these things that happen in the chain. I mean, it's one of the best rivalries ever. And now you've got the freaking Pirate, Mike Leach, who I love, and Lane Kiffin. He's like Sam Griner with his mouth. I mean, that's one of the highest profile rivalries just because of the coaches and some of the zany, crazy things that the players do. That's one I look forward to no matter where I am around here. I've got to at least watch it. And now we got the Pirate there. It's going to be an offensive explosion. I think it might be 50-47 you might get for the final score. That's one of the best rivalries to me. I'm sorry, Griner, that you watched the Lions game. That's one I don't even worry about anymore because
I know I feel like I lost that debate. That's the first debate I've lost in a long time. So I can concede to that one for sure. Anytime you say Lions, it's not necessarily good unless you're talking about the West Charlotte Lions, baby.
Well, I really like the Texas A&M rivalry back in the day. They quit playing that one. But, hey, the biggest rivalry I like is when we get out there in that backyard after Thanksgiving meal on Thursday. And, I channel my inner Al Bundy. That's when the real rivalry's going to start.
Yeah, hey, not trying to tear the ACL.
I told my wife I found an Al Bundy, was it Polk High School or something like that? Yeah. There was a jersey you can get. I was like, baby, I have to have that. I ain't bought a jersey in a long time, but I scored. Oh, that Married with Children, one of the greatest ever.
All right, Coach Grice, now for real, this one's coming to you. What is the best Thanksgiving side dish?
Oh, it's got to be mac and cheese, man. I think that's one of the ones. And again, it's an elite side dish because you have the people that can really make it, and it's one of the it can be the star of the plate. But the people that can't, they can mess it up and really mess up a Thanksgiving for somebody. That's the thing with that side dish. It's one of those that can elevate. Some of these other side dishes, they are what they are. I mean, somebody can make yams, sweet potato souffle, greens, like those things aren't hard to deviate from what they are. But a great freaking plate of mac and cheese, that corner piece, I'm talking about, Griner, that corner piece of that mac and cheese.
That corner piece,
one of the best.
A little crisp glaze, like a little crunch to it. And
you got that cheese on top melted. Oh, that is a good piece of mac and cheese. Oh my gosh, man, good corner mac and cheese can do anything, can do wonders.
Believe it or not, I love broccoli casserole. Like, I look forward to it so much, and if some people make it right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the broccoli casserole is just something different, especially if you got a little bit of crust on the top, and then when you go into it. I'm a big broccoli casserole guy, but like mac and cheese, like you said, I've been to some places where it's been dry as can be, and it'll ruin your day. But that stuff, the cheese needs to come off, like it needs to be dripping off the fork, and have a little bit something like a little crunch on the top. Oh, it's perfect, crunch. Like you said. Oh, yeah, no doubt.
All right, man. Just give me a bunch of green beans. I'm gonna put some salt and pepper on it, man. That's good. That
sounds sad.
The
broccoli casserole's good. My mom makes a good one too, but the green beans, Guru, come on, get out of here,
man. Get out of here with that.
All right, back to you, Coach Griner. If you had to give up one for Thursday, what's going on your turkey or your ham?
Ham's gone. It's out the door. Like the only ham I actually would be like country ham, and the other ham is just too fatty taste for me. I don't do meat that much, but I'll do turkey and get a little. I mean, you can throw a little A1 sauce. You can do whatever you want to with it, and go sleep really good. Ham ain't gonna make you go to sleep. Turkey will.
That's why you choose a ham. I don't want to be sitting here being logged down about to die. A good piece of ham, like there's a reason why we have honey baked ham and don't have honey baked turkey out here. A great ham is one of the best things out here, man. I'm telling you. That's the problem. You haven't had a good one. We can't trust your opinion on meat. You don't eat it. Like you can get a good piece of just honey glazed, that baked ham, and just that you're slicing it down. It's just it enhances your plate. It can be the star of your freaking Thanksgiving if you do it right.
If
you got
you get
people
rid
out
of
here
the
making
ham,
dry turkey over here biting it, feel like you're eating peanut butter, man.
you got to get a deep fried turkey. Deep fried turkey. Baby.
I agree. Deep fried turkey's close. Deep fried turkey is close.
Okay.
That honey baked ham, it can't be beat. I told you, find me a honey baked turkey store, take a picture of it, and send it to me.
All right,
you get rid of that ham. You get rid of that ham, you'll drop 8 minutes off of your marathon.
Well, I don't eat a lot of pork anyway. That's really the one time where I'm gonna set aside. I'm gonna eat it.
Well, I want to throw this out there. One, I'm going to take the ham and the turkey because y'all seen my figure. And two, A1 on turkey, really?
Right?
Yeah. Look, A1. Like
don't trust this meat.
Yeah. Because
I'll do some Texas Pete.
Now, if you do,
I've never heard of anybody putting A1 on the turkey.
A1, baby.
That's some Sam Grinder. That's some Sam Grinder invention stuff there.
Hey, I can put y'all some stuff. Trust me.
Invented. All right. So we're gonna let Chris run through the rankings real quick, and we're gonna start out with the 1A guys. Chris, let me get them on the screen. You can take us through and see who's looking like what as we go into the quarterfinals.
All right, quickly here, you see the 1A football rankings here for this week. Mount Airy on top, Tarboro, they're number 2, hot on their trail. Mitchell, Northside, Robbinsville, Murphy. There you see them right there. Eastern Randolph, they were the number 1 team. Fell short to Murphy Friday night. Northampton County's looking really strong. Pender County is really surging. And there you see Southside coming into 10th. So that's your 1A rankings. And
is there any surprises now, Chris, as we gotten this far that guys you didn't think might be here at this point that are here?
I wouldn't say surprises because in 1A, to me, 1A is pretty predictable. You've got the teams who year in and year out just kind of rise to the top. And my bracket still to this day in 1A for the entire playoffs, I've missed 3 games. It's fairly easier to pick 1A.
Well, let's go to the Junior Fight Club.
Yes, this one here, I got a few wrong. Not as many, but a few wrong. But there you got Reedsville right there, number 1. Northeastern, again, another undefeated team. Maiden, they're undefeated. Shelby playing Reedsville Friday. That's going to be a big one. St. Paul's, they're undefeated. Princeton, they're undefeated. Those two are going to go after each other Friday. East Surrey, undefeated. Wallace Rose Hill, Salisbury, obviously, they took that loss, and Whiteville lost a close one, a 2-point heartbreaking loss to St. Paul's Friday night. Those are all some extremely good football teams.
Okay, if we're going to assume that Reedsville's the better football team because Shelby's ranked a few spots below them, how big a deal will it be that Reedsville has to take such a long trip and play in front of all those fans in Shelby? Will that even it out? Will that give Shelby the advantage?
Well, I do think, and trust me, guys, if Reedsville has an advantage, it is so microscopic that it can fit in between those 2 fingers. It's a razor-thin advantage. Both of these 2 teams are exceptional. Reedsville might be a little bit more complete and a little bit more dynamic on offense, but I don't know. I talked to Coach Jim Teague yesterday, and he was really, really concerned with Shelby's defense more than anything. He said their defense and the physicality that they present scares him more than any of their athletes.
That's because Shelby's the Lions, baby. That's because they're the Lions.
Let's take a look at the 3A. Let's take a look at the 3A, Chris. What we got?
Okay. Well, there you see it. Greensboro Dudley, number 1. Statesville, number 2. These two are going to go head-to-head Friday night up there in Greyhound Hollow. Eastern Alamance, they're still looking really strong. Crest, Scotland. Again, Scotland's my pick out of the East. We'll see how that shakes out. Jacksonville, South Point, Greenville Rose, Northern Nash. Talk about a heartbreaking loss to Scotland. Had that game. And just a tremendous season for Northern Nash and everybody, and then 71st. Still some good football teams remaining.
Yeah, Grice, anything there that stands out to you?
No, I think, a lot of that will be sorted out here very soon. But, biggest thing we're seeing is kudos to some of these teams that are playing tough schedules, like in Scotland, of course, even in our conference. Next thing you know, they're down there at their 3A level, and they look like world beaters. So I'm excited to see the run.
All right, let's take a look at the real Fight Club, or the first Fight Club for it.
Absolutely. And there you see Huff again, ranked number 1, no surprise. And no question, I think they're the undisputed number 1 at this point. Knocked off Chambers earlier in the year, who's still sitting there at number 2. East Forsyth, obviously, we've talked enough about that game against them and Huff Friday night. Cardinal Gibbons, Weddington, and I still am concerned about Chambers against Weddington because Weddington is just a team that will not make mistakes. So Chambers will have to play a really mistake-free football game, I feel, against them. Leesville Road, just talk about that defense. Cleveland's still there. Rollsville has a real chance to move much higher in the rankings if they can put together a big offensive performance Friday. Panther Creek as well. And then Millbrook, again, you want to still highlight the big-time year that Coach Inscore had up there at Millbrook. So congrats to all these guys.
Yeah. Grinder, anything there that stands out to you?
Well, I just think that the 4 best teams are at the top right now. Hub, Chambers, East Forsyth, Cardinal Gibbons. That's exactly how I would choose it. 3 of those teams being on the West. We said that the West, I think, is a little bit stronger, even though I think Cardinal Gibbons is going to be a tough out if they make it to the state championship game. Weddington, the one team that they played like deep into Charlotte this year, I guess, would be Audrey Kell. Audrey Kell kind of had their way with them then, but I think they've gotten a lot better since. But Chambers just has so many athletes. I think you're going to see the epic matchup we all wanted, Huff and Chambers in the semifinals. Winner of that game wins the state championship.
I'd like to take this opportunity very quickly to recognize the journalistic excellence of Mr. Sam Griner and his subtle references in the last couple segments. You notice how he just said right there, how you mentioned that the top 3 teams were from the West, and one of those 3 teams is from Charlotte, as in Chambers. Nothing to do with the fact that he plays in that same conference, by the way. And in the previous segment, how he referenced the Shelby team as the Lions. So I'd like to acknowledge the journalistic excellence of Mr. Sam Griner and his not so subtle references, which were not lost on any of us. But well done, Mr. Griner.
He's dropping in his hint. Okay, guys, on Tuesday, Governor Roy Cooper signed HB 91 into law. It's been a controversial bill. It's been talked about for months and months. And we tossed it to Chris on 60 Seconds to give you guys his take.
And here I am, the guru, Chris Hughes, for another 60 Seconds with Chris here on the Charlotte Observer, Raleigh News and Observer, talking Preps NC. We got a big news item that just came across the desk. It's been announced that Governor Cooper has signed the piece of legislation known as House Bill 91. And I knew that I wanted to bring a smarter individual than I that is very much in tune to all the inner workings of not only the NCHSAA, but high school athletics in general, is Alex Bass. So, Alex, give me your little 1-minute thought on the bill that was signed, and where do you think we go from here?
Well, thank you, Chris. You're far too kind. And let's remind everybody that we are where we are. It is what it is. This legislation is here, so let's work with it. That being said, I'd like to make 3 points very briefly. If you look at the language of the legislation, there is a reference to governing high school athletics for public school units. I just want to ask, is it understood that that definition or that phrasing public school units will include charter schools, which by definitions are public schools? They function as their own unit or local education agency. And what will that mean for the participation in this high school athletics programming by non-boarding parochial schools currently who are NCHSAA member schools? The second question I have has to do with the phrasing parent or legal guardian. There's a difference between guardianship and a legal custodian in the case where the primary caregiver for someone is not their actual parent. Guardianship can be something that is transferred by a simple notary. Custodianship requires court-ordered documents. There is a difference. Currently, the standard is custodianship. So if guardianship becomes the new standard, what will that mean? I do have questions about that. And then the last point I want to make has to do with a provision at the end of the document enabling the State Board of Education by majority vote to declare null and void any policy or rule adopted by the governing nonprofit association. Are we getting in a situation where does the State Board of Education want to delve into day-to-day administration? That's the question I have about that there. You look at a superintendent and a school board. The superintendent is entrusted with the responsibility of the day-to-day administration of a school system. I get that is what the intended relationship is here. And any nonprofit entrusted with this responsibility has to be compliant with State Board of Education policy. So why would the State Board of Education want to be in a position to micromanage effectively and get into day-to-day policy implementation? I don't quite understand that. But once again, just 3 points I want to make there. We'll have much more discussion about this, and I look forward to continuing discussion as we move forward in service to the boys and girls of North Carolina.
All right, you guys heard it right there. That is Sir Alex Bass, Chris Hughes, 66 with Chris, talking preps, and I'm sure we'll delve into this more in-depthly in the coming weeks.
All right, so this week, Chelsea got a chance to talk to the Maiden wide receiver, Chris Culver, had a humongous game for Maiden. We talked about them in Fresh Faces. They're going to get ready to play this weekend. Let's see what Chelsea's talking about.
So this week, I'm interviewing class of 23, Chris Culver from Maiden High School. And so, Chris, I want to start off by talking about last week's win against Salisbury, where you had an incredibly impressive performance. Kind of talking about your performance overall, discuss your statistics and how you guys came into that game and how you prepared for it.
Well, starting off the week, we knew that we had a great matchup ahead, so we just had to go in the game, play like it was our last game, and just execute to the point of where we couldn't mess up. This week I had like 10 catches for 205 yards and 4 touchdowns. And line was doing great. Quarterback was throwing the ball good. Teammates was blocking. So it was just a great game for us all.
Nice. And so you were able to get that win. Moving on to next week for round 4, you play East Surrey. Talk about the expectation for that game and how you guys kind of practice for it.
Well, we just got to come out there and do the same thing we did this week, basically, and just do the same thing over and over again, hopefully to come out with a win. Looking to stop them to like less than 15 points, hopefully, just so we get out of there and then go to next round.
Nice. And so I know in the regular season you guys were undefeated, but were there any challenges you guys faced? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Like a couple schools like Christ School, we went in overtime that game. We just had to overcome the adversity and just come together as a team to win. And that's really it.
Is there any pressure having that high standard of being, undefeated or known as like that team?
I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say that, but I mean, it's kind of cool to know you got a lot of people watching you going in Friday nights. You got people depending on you to win the game. So that's how I think of it.
Nice. And so you're a class of 23. Kind of talk about the leadership role that you take on being an upperclassman and just, with your leadership on the field.
Just showing the guys that you can mess up and then come back next play and then do something good. And it's not all about the wrongs, but just showing them the way, showing the kids that's younger than me what to do and just helping them prepare for when I leave next year.
And I'll throw this in to maybe some of the younger classmen or to some people who kind of look up to you as an athlete. What's some advice you would give?
Just don't take no days for granted. Work your butt off. If you want to go somewhere, you can do it. Just do everything with a purpose.
I like that. And so going into your recruitment, I know you have lots of offers, lots of interest. Kind of talk about how your process has been so far and, who you've been talking to.
It's been good, pretty smooth. I've been talking to Ohio State and just Tennessee, Duke, a couple schools like that, just trying to put an offer.
Nice. And so for a college, what's something that you would look forward to in a program, that would make it home for you?
Just somewhere just say I was to stop playing football, just somewhere that just makes me feel home and comfortable to where I know I got somebody I could talk to if something went wrong.
That's nice. And to reach that, high achievement on the field, how do you practice for that? How do you really prepare to go in and just dominate?
You just gotta, when you have practice, you gotta take every rep like you're in a game. So what you're doing in practice, you can do it the Friday when you play.
Nice. And finally, to those who don't know you as an athlete, who don't know your team, kind of just describe yourself.
Like my team?
You can do both. Your play style, your team.
All right. Well, my team, we got a whole group of guys. We all nice. We're brothers. If something's wrong, we're gonna check on one another, and we're just always here for each other. Me, I think I got a good personality. Like if the room is sad, I'll come in there and just let everybody mood up. I mean, that's the type of guy I am.
All right. Well, thank you so much for hopping on, and best of luck this Friday. I'd like to see the result and how you guys make it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, guys. As usual, Chelsea killed it. And we're really kind of wrapping up the show. It's kind of quick tonight, but we'll be back next week. Whoa, wait a minute. Before we get out, we got to put the star of the show in this one shot. Let's Sam.
No star of the show. Just happy to be here. Me and Langston been doing this for a long time. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families. I can't wait to see my son, Brahim Murphy. I'm getting to go to the Army-Navy game. That's the one positive thing, not making it to the state championship. I get to go watch his game December 11th, and excited to go do that.
You getting brief in these things now. You getting too brief.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I'm not ready for you.
You're not ready? I'm just trying to. I got them classes going, but I'll be in my head over here. I'm just like, oh shoot, let me get rolling.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Another edition of Talking Preps in the book. I'm Langston. That's Chris the Guru, the #1 voice of high school football in North Carolina. Alex Bash. You won't find anybody who knows Eastern North Carolina football better than him, except maybe Chris. And then we got Coach Grinder, the star of the show, the prognosticator, the Nostradamus. Already tell you who's going to the state championship.
Here we go.
State championship. That's him now. You send your email, your DM at
No. Let me tell everybody, Langston sends me messages. I have to make bold predictions. Like, I'm just telling you guys, so everything comes.
No, you can't put it on me, sir.
His rap sheet speaks for itself.
All right. Well, look, this is another edition of Talking Preps. We'll catch you